welcome to part 2 of Picking a Crab with Cleavage on Cooking with Cleavage. So, I am going to pick a whole crab for y'all today and show y'all I can't show you the difference between a male and a female because I don't have any females. I should have gotten one, but I don't like the females as much as the males. I think I talked about this before. So I made sure they gave me all males. I have a recipe I'm making and it calls for 4 crabs. So I'm going to peel 4 crabs for the recipe. I wanted to show y'all how to do it. So I'm going to show y'all the first one, and I'm going to get my beer out. So I'll be right back. Okay. For me, the best thing to have with crabs is beer. So I got these beautiful Warsteiner glasses at the Deutsches Haus for Oktoberfest, and I'm gonna drink a Warsteiner out of it. How do you like that? Somebody, I'm sure they make them, but somebody needs to come up with like a tab puller, Or maybe for Christmas somebody can send me a tab puller. Because, it's hard with my nails. So I'm pouring it straight. I know that it has a lot of head, but it's going to go down. And I heard that it makes it less, makes you feel less full if you just pour it like that right out and just let it have a big head and go down. Because then, that's kind of what happens. And then it's because the glass is moist, and it's going to go down with the condensation and stuff like that and penetrate the glass, right? Let's see if I stick my finger in it. Okay, so I fit the whole can in here. See? It's up to the line. Look at that head, huh? Okay, I'm going to have that sip of beer. Delish. And I'm going to take out my first crab. So this is a male. You see how it has the little thing that comes up like this? But the female, it just looks like a fan across. It doesn't have this little thing that comes up like that, right? So that's a male. What I do first is I take all my claws and my legs off. But I'm going to take some of this meat, right, when I take it off and put it in my container where I'm holding the crab. And I showed y'all on the other episode how I eat the meat out of these, but I'm not going to show y'all that right now. I'm just going to, off camera, go back and go through it. But I could actually try to get all the meat out of there. I'll see if I can do that and show y'all how to do it. Okay. So this is just the body, right? So you put a knife in here, and this actually comes up. And it's the same for the female. You just pull that little fan up, and then you open it like that. It's just like a lever. And then this part is all the fat and stuff. I'm going to put my trash over here, and I'll go back and get that. And then this is all dead man. It's called the dead man skin or meat, dead man meat. That, it's just like lungs. It doesn't taste good. Don't eat that. It's disgusting. But this is a really light one. And then you cut it and you break it in half, and then you break that in half, and that's all your crab meat in there. There's some crab meat in here. But you want to make sure, especially if you're peeling it for a dish, I can feel it right now because you're using your hands. You could feel the shell, right? I'm taking that shell out. Who wants to eat a dish with a crab shell? Nobody. And that's a little bit of a shell right there. See? You can feel it with your hands. But if you were just doing this with a knife or a fork, you wouldn't be able to tell. That's the good thing about using your hands. It's like cultures who eat with their hands. They tell me that. A friend of mine from Bangladesh, I ate with him one time, him and his wife, and it was like a chicken stew, and they were eating with their hands. They were laughing at me. She said, "You'd get better at it if you did it more." And I'm like, "That's so funny here. We're taught not to do that." I might have even talked about this before on the show. I don't know. But he told me that. He was like, when we eat if it was like a fish dish, you'd be able to feel the little bones in the fish, so you could pick it out. So all that's meat. That's meat. That's meat. Everything that's not hard is meat, except for, like I said, the dead man's meat. You don't want to have that. And I just break it if it feels like it's not easily coming out, and that way it's easier. It's when it's smaller like this, it's easier to get between the little shells to get the meat out. See, that's all meat right there. And there's some meat. I know that's being nitpicky, but I get all the meat I can out of it. Because when the recipe calls for 4 crabs, I got the recipe from my mom. She didn't measure it after it was already peeled. She measured it before peeling. And really, I mean, traditionally, we made this, traditionally this recipe, it didn't even have crab in it, but I added it. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I could pick, some people are like, oh, I can't stand picking a crab. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'd pick crabs all day long. It's one of the most enjoyable things to me. I know a lot of people think this is a pain. And they're like, oh, just pick it for me and feed me. I'm like, yeah, in your dreams. I'll pick it for me and feed me. But I think this crab is so small, I'm probably going to have to try to get some of the meat out of. So you see, that's a lot of fat. But you see that stuff? That doesn't taste good right there. But if you get that part off, that usually tastes good. And that's all. That's a piece of meat. But all that's shell, most of it. Meat. You could just break it up just like that on the other side. Yeah, this isn't a really big crab because you can tell it's like, oh, I did the whole crab and that's all I got out of it. That's so funny. But the place I went to only had medium large. They didn't have any large or jumbo or anything like that. So those are the crabs where you can get, you can get a lot of meat out of it when you open it up, and it's not my mom used to call it a windbreaker when you opened it up like this one and it didn't have that much meat. But you see how moist it is? I'm not eating this, but I'm gonna have to eat one of them because this is delicious. This looks delicious. That's definitely a little bit of shell. I find that when I get crab already peeled at the store, it has a lot of shell. I'm like, oh, they must not be able to use their hands, I'm just using the gloves probably to do it because they're distributing it. And it's harder to do. Because if you can't feel it, you're going to let all those shells in there. They do the best they can, but nothing's foolproof. I'm sure I could get a shell in here, even with using my hands, but it's less, it's more foolproof when you use your hands like this. That's shells. Maybe I'll open up another one real quick and see if it's any meatier. You find that sometimes that my sister said that my uncle used to tell her to take pick the ugliest crab and it's always the best. And I'm like, I don't know about that. That's a little strange. But sometimes, sometimes the prettiest one is the best one. It's got meat in there. I think also the reason why I don't mind peeling crabs is because I have such small hands, Like maybe somebody with big hands might not like doing this. There you go. All right. And then the claws. So what I do is I just break the claw in half. Just like that. And sometimes when you break it, you get the whole meat out. That's all meat right there. And then what I do is I stick the knife in this little part right there. And that opens it. And sometimes you can just use these crackers to crack that. And that's all meat in there. This is easier because it's just not going to be shells. The shells are on the outside. And that looks like all that was gotten except for maybe some of this at the end. Because that pulled that whole thing out. See, I just try to get all the meat out of it that I can. And then this, if I wasn't on a if I was somewhere where I could hit this hard, I like to just boop, 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 to get the claw out, but trying to just pull it out. See, that's all shells. I'm just trying to get the claw meat. I'm gonna see if there's any left in here. See, there's just a little bit in there. It's like, oh my gosh, you get all the meat out. Yeah. Why let it go to waste? If I'm gonna be doing this, I might as well do it right. Right? It's a little bit in here. There's some meat in here. I'm trying to get all of it. You see, that's meat. And then, see, that one didn't come out. So we're gonna have to break it all. There's meat in here. You're like, you're so crazy. You take all the meat. Yeah, look. Why would you want to throw that piece of meat away? Yum. Too bad I have to try to save all these. But you know, I got like I said, the recipe calls that I'm making calls for 4 crabs. And I got 6. So I'm gonna eat one after I'm done showing y'all how to peel it. Ooh, that really came out easily like that. Let's see if there's any more meat. Just crack everything open and see. Oh look, a little bit. Interesting, huh? There's like meat everywhere in here. So delicious. That one came out, but you see, that would be how you open it if it doesn't come out. Just like that. Okay, let me see if I can show y'all how to do one of these legs. So there's meat in here. There's meat in there. And there's meat in here. So I usually use my fingers to kind of push it up. And then I go in here and I get anything extra. See? There's some meat. There's meat. That was meat in there. See? It came out. It's right here. And there's even meat in here. Bet you didn't know that, huh? That's just in a leg. And then there's this like knuckle looking thing. It doesn't look like all the others. There's meat. That's like in one knuckle or one little thing, right? And then there's meat in here, right there. Nothing in there. And that's how you do a crab. That's how you pick a crab. Let me see if this one has, there's another one in here. They all feel pretty light. This one feels like a heavier one. Oh, and it is pretty ugly, see? So I'm just gonna do it exactly like I did the other one. And sometimes, you know, when I was taking off the legs, you saw like, I'm trying to make sure it doesn't tear off any meat, because that's when you open up the crab and it doesn't have any meat in it, because you already got it all out by taking the legs off. Some people keep their legs on, but I think it's easier. See, that's some meat that would be in there when I open it up. So I forgot that about opening it up. I got meat out of there before I even opened up the crab. Some people, I mean, even members of my own family, they just keep the legs on there, you know, when they open it up and break it in half. And you can do that. You can keep the legs on. But I find that when you finally open it up, getting all these little knuckles off of it help you get all the meat out of, you know, it comes out more cleaner. I guess cleaner. I don't know. More clean didn't really sound right. Cleaner. And this is one final little knuckle. Okay. Okay, ooh. See that? All that fat? All that fat is good. That's fat. That'll be good in the dish. Just put all that fat in there. But like I said, the difference between the fat and this, that doesn't taste good. Those little, yeah, it looks like fat. It's fatty, but no, it's not good. And this is all the dead man meat I was telling you about, and this is just shells right there. And then you break it in half, just like I did the other one, right? And you don't want any of these. This is what I'm talking about. This is gross. They look little wiggly things. Ew. They're really gross. And then you break that in half. See how much meatier it is? And there's more of this stuff. You don't want that. It doesn't look like the meat. It looks different. And it's got a really bitter taste to it. And you won't like it. It's got more of these little curly things. They look like little intestines, but they're really gross. Yep, get that last one out and free the, see, it's still on there. Free the meat. That's meat. This is all meat. Let's see how it comes out in like a big chunk like that. It's really cool when it comes out more, you know, clean like that. Because if you had the legs all in there, then all the knuckles would still be here. That's what I mean about it coming out cleaner. And that's some more of that gross stuff right there. But the fat is good. I find that's one of the biggest differences between the male and the female, is that the male fat is sweeter, and the female, it's more bitter. And I think the meat is mushier for a female. But I don't know, this looks pretty mushy. I think I might have just gotten a shell in there. So you just get all the meat out, just like this. There's meat inside there. You just have to break the shells apart. It's like I said, it's easy to do it when you're feeling it. You know, your little fingers can penetrate the shells and get all the meat out. That's a shell. Cameraman's making noise over there. Quiet up, cameraman. Oh, because maybe I'm not talking enough. He's like, okay, come on. Pick it up. Pick it up over there. Just talking about meat and parts. And parts and pieces and shells. And see, that's some of that squiggly stuff. You don't want that. That doesn't taste good to me. Taste it and you'll see what I mean. And you just spit it out too. Because I spit mine out. I spit it out. I do not like that. I learned that when I was a kid, you know? When I was a kid eating crabs. I don't even remember my first crab, but I was must have been pretty young. Because I don't remember a time in my life I wasn't picking crabs and eating crabs. And I grew up about a block and a half from Lake Pontchartrain here in New Orleans. And, you know, we used to go and put the turkey neck. You get some turkey necks and you tie it to the crab net. And a crab net, it looks like it's just a round metal with ropes in between. And you tie it and the crabs get all stuck in there. We'd put those nets down and then come back in a couple of hours and it'd be like a whole dozen crabs ready for us to pull out, you know. Ooh, dinner. But the thing about it is, I might have talked about this before too. If you're boiling your own crabs, you want to put them on ice or get them cold first because they'll put them to sleep. Otherwise, you'll have nightmares about those crabs going in that water because they will be screaming to not go in. And they say that you can hear a lobster scream too, but I'm not saying you can hear the crab scream, but I could feel them. Like, I could feel that they were not happy going in that pot. So I was living in New York City, and I found live crabs in Chinatown, and I was like, I'm going to go home and boil up some crabs. And I was like in my early 20s, you know. I thought it was a great idea, and I forgot that part. I was like, ooh, I'm supposed to put them to sleep. I'm not boiling crabs anymore. Because they will fight you going in the pot. I mean, they tried, like, the pot is hot. They're trying like hell to climb themselves out, you know? And they're strong. They're stronger than they look. They could pick themselves up out of that pot. And they're like, no, I'm not going in there. You're like, yes, you are. You get on in there. But it didn't make me feel good, you know? I mean, I was like Homer. You ever saw The Simpsons with Homer? He got that lobster and he's getting it all fat and then he accidentally killed it or something. He accidentally cooked it or something like that. And he's sitting there eating the lobster and he's just crying because his lobster is dead and he's eating it. But he was still eating it. You know what I mean? I mean, me. Oh, I feel bad for the crab, but crab for dinner? You know? Nobody's be missing that crab. I know in Maryland, I heard, I don't know if it's an all the time thing, but that you can't eat females because of the population. And, you know, they need the females to grow a population. So, I heard that it's not legal to fish or crab the females. And if you catch them, you're supposed to put them back. But in Louisiana, we're so plentiful here. I guess because the water's so warm or something for longer periods of time. You know, it doesn't get extremely cold. I don't know, because I know that crabs have a hard shell that's supposed to protect them from that extreme cold, you know, and they will drop their shell when it gets too hot. It's just like breaking all the shells until you can get at it and get to the meat. Okay, so this is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the claws again and show you how to do that. I'm just going to finish this because I wanted to show you what it looked like. A nice plump crab. And get all the meat out of there. I don't know, it's weird. That's a shell, but it's really soft. I don't know if y'all ever had soft shell crab, but they will, when it gets too hot, they will shed their shell, and then it's really soft, and then you cook them, but you can eat the whole thing. The shell's soft, so just easy to eat. And I'm not going to fight with that one, but I did want to show you about eating this head. You don't eat the head, but you eat what's in it. So this is more of that gross stuff, right? But if you dig all this out, that's all fat, and you can eat all that. I do. But I lift all this up, because that's all gross. That's like lung stuff, right? I take all that out. And then I get underneath it. This is a shell. But like all underneath here. And then you just eat it. Just eat it like that. So anyway, this is how you peel a crab. I'm going to take another sip of beer. Well, it's still cold because I've just been picking these crabs. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope you learned something today about how to pick a crab. Different, a little bit more than what you learned last time. And let me know what y'all think. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Cooking with Cleavage.